I never thought much about Lisa's high school reunion. Hell, I barely even remembered it was happening until she brought it up one night over dinner. 20 years, she mused, twirling pasta around her fork. It doesn't feel that long, does it? I shrugged. I wouldn't know. I didn't bother going to mine. Lisa laughed, shaking her head. That's because you hated high school. Exactly. She smiled, but there was something else in her expression. A certain excitement I hadn't seen in a while. I should have paid more attention to that. But hindsight is a hell of a thing. A week later, she was off to the reunion, dressed in a navy blue dress that hugged her just right. I'll probably be late, she said as she grabbed her keys. You don't mind, do you? I didn't. Or at least I didn't think I did. She came home at 2 a.m. Now, I'm not the jealous type, but when your wife of 15 years strolls in hours after an event should have ended, smelling like expensive cologne that sure as hell isn't yours, you take notice. I didn't say anything at first, just rolled over and pretended to be asleep. She whispered, I love you, before slipping under the covers. That's when I knew something was wrong. Lisa was never that affectionate after a night out. Not unless she felt guilty. Still, I didn't push it. I should have. Days passed, and Lisa was glued to her phone more than usual, smiling at messages, hiding her screen when I walked by. I tried not to jump to conclusions. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe she was just reconnecting with old friends. Then I saw his name pop up on her screen. James Carter, her high school boyfriend, the one she used to write poetry about, the one she told me years ago was her first love. That's when my stomach started to turn. I played dumb for a while, watched, waited, tried to convince myself I was overreacting. Then the social media posts started. Pictures from the reunion. Lisa laughing with James. Their bodies too close. The kind of closeness that made my skin crawl. And the comments? Great catching up with you, Lisa. Let's do it again soon. Winking face. I knew that wink. Every man does. I finally asked her about it over dinner. You've been talking to James a lot, I said, keeping my voice casual. Lisa barely looked up from her plate. Yeah, it's been nice catching up. That's all it is? She smiled, but it felt forced. Of course. She was lying. I didn't know how deep the lie went, but I knew it was there. I had no idea what I was about to uncover. Not just an affair. Not just betrayal. But a calculated plan. One that would bring my entire life crashing down. I tried to let it go. Tried to convince myself that I was overthinking things, that I was just being paranoid. I failed. The thing about gut feelings? They don't just sit there quietly. They gnaw at you. Dig into your thoughts at 2 a.m. when your wife is lying beside you. Her breathing steady, her phone face down on the nightstand. They whisper things like, she's lying. Something is off. Look closer. And I did. Lisa became more distracted, always on her phone, smiling at messages I wasn't seeing. She started dressing better, wearing perfume to run errands. One she hadn't used in years. She was going to lunch with friends, but coming home late. It wasn't blatant. It wasn't sloppy. But when you've been with someone for 15 years, you know when something isn't right. And I knew. One night, I was scrolling through Facebook when I saw a new post from James Carter. He was at a bar downtown, one of those upscale lounges with overpriced cocktails and dim lighting. His caption, great company, even better drinks. Cocktail glass. It was 11:42 p.m. I might have ignored it, but then I saw a comment under the post. One that hit me like a punch to the gut. Lisa, next round's on me next time. Winking face, next time. Next time. I stared at those words until my screen blurred. She was out. She had told me she was home at her sister's, helping with her nephew. She was lying. I clicked on James's profile, scrolling back, looking for more. And that's when I saw the pictures. A week-old post from a fancy rooftop restaurant. James in his tailored suit, wine glass in hand. Lisa in the reflection of the window behind him, turned slightly, laughing at something out of frame. She hadn't tagged herself. Hadn't posted about it at all. But there she was. I felt something snap inside me. I wasn't going crazy. I wasn't overreacting. Lisa was hiding something. The next morning, I decided to test her. As she poured her coffee, I leaned against the counter, keeping my tone light. "How's your sister?" Lisa blinked, caught off guard. "What? Last night, you said you were helping with your nephew. Everything okay?" She hesitated. Too long. Then she smiled. "Oh yeah, he's just teething. Screamed all night." I nodded, took a sip of my own coffee. She must have really appreciated the help. Lisa sighed, rolling her eyes playfully. "Yeah, well, I barely got any sleep, but, family. Family. I let it go. Didn't push. Just watched. And that's when I saw it." Her phone screen lit up. A new text. "James Carter. Last night was amazing. Can't wait for the next." Lisa's face paled. She quickly turned the phone over, but it was too late. I had seen it. I didn't say a word, but my entire world shifted in that moment. That night, I sat in my office, staring at my laptop, debating my next move. I could confront her, demand answers, but deep down, I knew she'd just lie. I needed proof. So I did what any sane man does when his world starts cracking at the seams. I hired a private investigator. His name was Darren Wolf, and he came highly recommended. Older guy, former military. The kind of man who didn't sugarcoat things. When I told him about Lisa and James, he just nodded, like he had seen this 1,000 times before. "I'll find out what's going on," he said. "Give me a few days." And so I waited. 3 days later, Darren called me back. "Meet me in person," he said. That's when I knew this was worse than I thought. We met at a diner off the highway. Darren slid a folder across the table. Inside were photos. Lisa and James. Together. Too close. The first was them at a hotel bar, sitting side by side, her hand on his knee. The next was them leaving the bar, hand in hand. The last? A grainy, black and white security cam still of them entering a hotel room. I closed the folder. My hands were shaking. "Anything else?" I forced out. Darren hesitated. "Yeah." He pulled out another file. "James isn't just screwing your wife, Derek. He's screwing with your entire life." I frowned. "What do you mean?" Darren exhaled. "This guy has been digging into your finances. He's been meeting with some interesting people, accountants, brokers, lawyers. Your name has come up in some very concerning conversations." My pulse pounded in my ears. "What the hell are you saying?" "I'm saying," Darren said grimly, "that this isn't just about Lisa cheating. James Carter wasn't just after my wife. He was after me, and I had no idea why." I sat in my car outside the diner for a long time, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. My brain was spinning, trying to process what Darren had just told me. Lisa was cheating on me. That much I had already suspected. But James? He wasn't just some sleazy old flame looking for a quick thrill. He had a plan. A real, calculated plan. And it involved my money, my business, my entire damn life. I had built my company from nothing. Spent years grinding, making connections, pulling myself up the hard way. I wasn't some fool with a trust fund and no street sense. So what the hell was James doing sniffing around my finances? I needed answers. I needed to figure out how deep this went. But first, I needed to act like I didn't know a damn thing. That night, I walked through the front door like nothing had changed. Lisa was on the couch, legs curled up, scrolling through her phone. She looked up and smiled. Hey babe, like she wasn't out last night, drinking expensive cocktails with James Carter. Like she wasn't sneaking off to hotel rooms while I was sitting at home thinking she was with her sister. I forced a smile back. Hey, she stretched, setting her phone down. Long day. Yeah. I dropped my keys on the counter, thinking about heading to bed early. She frowned. It's barely 9. I've just been feeling drained lately, I said. Probably stress from work. That part wasn't a lie. I was stressed as hell. Just not for the reason she thought. Lisa patted the couch cushion next to her. Come sit with me for a bit. I almost said no. Almost told her I had work to do, a call to make, something, anything, to keep me from sitting next to her, pretending that everything was fine. but I needed her to think I was clueless. So I sat down. She shifted closer, leaning against me like nothing was wrong. Her perfume was light, floral, the same one she'd been wearing since we were first married. It used to drive me crazy. Now it made my stomach turn. I was thinking, Lisa said, running her fingers along my arm. Maybe we should plan a trip, just the two of us. A little getaway.
Istert daher.
A trip. She nodded, her smile warm, genuine. Yeah, it feels like we haven't had real time together in forever. I don't know, maybe somewhere tropical. Mexico, Hawaii. I wanted to laugh. I wanted to laugh so hard my ribs cracked. She was sleeping with another man, lying to my face. And now she wanted a vacation with my money. Because of course it was my money. Lisa had always had access to our finances, but she wasn't the one managing them. She had a separate account for her own spending, but she knew damn well the real money came from me. And James Carter was trying to take it. I played along, smiled. Yeah, that sounds nice. Lisa beamed. Great, I'll start looking at places tomorrow. I kissed her forehead, just like I had 100 times before. And in my head I made a promise. She could plan whatever she wanted. Because soon, everything was going to change. The next morning I called Darren. We need to meet again, I said. Thought you might say that, he replied. An hour later, I was sitting across from him in his small office. The walls lined with dusty filing cabinets and outdated computers.
No fancy setup.
Just a guy who got the job done. He slid another file toward me. You might want to brace yourself. I opened it. More photos, bank statements, copies of emails I hadn't seen before. Lisa and James weren't just meeting up for drinks and hotel stays. She had been moving money. Not from our main account. She wasn't that stupid. But from her personal savings. Slowly draining thousands into an untraceable offshore fund. A fund that James Carter had set up. I clenched my jaw. How long? 2 months at least, Darren said. Small withdrawals at first, then larger ones. Always just under the threshold that would trigger an automatic fraud alert. My wife was funneling money out of our accounts, right under my nose. And here's the real kicker, Darren said, flipping another page. James? He's got a history. This isn't the first time he's done this. I looked up. What do you mean? He's a con man. And a good one. This guy has a track record of getting close to people with money, usually women, sometimes men, gaining their trust, bleeding them dry, then disappearing. I exhaled slowly. So this was the plan. James never wanted Lisa. He wanted me. Lisa was just the pawn. And she was either too stupid or too blind to see it. Tell me everything, I said. And Darren did. James had done this at least 3 times before. Once to a wealthy widow in Miami. Another time to an investor in Texas. Both times he used romance to get close, to make them trust him. Then, little by little, he drained them dry. Why isn't he in prison? I asked. He's careful, Darren said. Never leaves a trail that points directly to him. He convinces them it was their own choice. That the money was for both of them, for their future. A future that never actually existed. I felt something dark settle in my chest. Lisa thought she was cheating on me. But she was the one getting played. She had no idea that she was about to lose everything. I closed the file, sat back, and took a deep breath. Then I smiled. Darren, I said, I think it's time we turn the tables. I didn't go home right away. I needed time to think. Time to let the rage settle into something more useful. Lisa thought she was playing me. James thought he was playing Lisa. But now I was in the game. And I don't lose. That night, I walked through the front door like I didn't have a folder full of proof burning a hole in my briefcase. Lisa was sitting on the couch, legs crossed, a glass of wine in her hand. She looked up, smiling like everything was normal. Hey, babe. I set my bag down, loosening my tie. Hey. She tilted her head. You okay? You look tired. Tired. Yeah. Let's go with that. I forced a chuckle. Long day. She patted the cushion beside her. Come sit. Relax. It was almost funny. How easy this all was for her. How comfortable she was, lying to my face, sneaking around behind my back.
He said.
Let her curl up against me. Let her pretend. Because she had no idea. The next day, I started making moves. First, I called my lawyer. Stephen, I said, keeping my tone casual, I need to update my will. And while we're at it, let's take another look at my assets. Stephen didn't ask questions. We'd worked together for years. He knew better. Next, I called my bank. Hi, I'd like to adjust some of my account permissions, particularly on joint accounts. Within 30 minutes, Lisa's access was cut. She wouldn't notice right away. She rarely checked our main accounts, trusting that the money was always there. But when she did, oh, it was going to be beautiful. That evening, I made a call to Darren. I want to know everything about James's finances, I told him. I'm already on it, he said. But there's something else you need to see. I met him at his office an hour later. He slid another file across the desk. I opened it. More photos. More transactions. But this time it wasn't just about Lisa and James. It was about me. What the hell is this? I asked. Darren leaned back in his chair. James has been talking to someone else. Someone close to you. I scanned the documents. Bank records.
Wire transfers.
Emails. Then I saw the name. Greg Thompson. My business partner. The guy I trusted for over a decade. I clenched my jaw. Tell me you're joking. Darren shook his head. James has been meeting with Greg behind your back. And from what I can tell, Greg's been feeding him information about your company, your investments, even your legal vulnerabilities. My entire body went cold. Greg wasn't just a partner. He was supposed to be my friend. And now he was selling me out. I drove home in silence, my mind racing. Lisa was a pawn. James was the conman. But Greg was the real traitor. And that changed everything. Because now this wasn't just about catching a cheating wife. This was war. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was angry, though I was. Not because I was heartbroken, though maybe a small part of me still was. I didn't sleep because I was planning. Lisa thought she was getting away with cheating. James thought he was pulling the ultimate con. And Greg? That bastard thought he was about to cash out on the company I built from the ground up. They were all so damn confident. Like I was some fool. Like I wasn't watching. Like I wasn't about to burn everything to the ground. The first step was Greg. If James was the conman and Lisa was his puppet, Greg was the inside man. He knew my finances, my investments, my business dealings. I had trusted him with everything. And he was selling me out. I wasn't just going to stop him. I was going to ruin him. The next morning, I walked into my office like I didn't know my best friend was stabbing me in the back. Greg was already there, sipping his overpriced espresso, scrolling through his phone like he had nothing to hide. "Morning, Derek," he said, flashing that easy grin. I grinned back, fake as hell. "Morning." I sat at my desk, logging into my system. "Hey, quick question. What's our standing with the Ridgeview contract?" Greg barely looked up. "Should be finalized by the end of the month. They were waiting on the last round of approvals." I nodded, tapping my fingers against my desk. "And the quarterly reports?" "Already sent to legal for review." I stared at him, lying. So easily, so naturally. The quarterly reports weren't with legal, because I had already pulled them. And I knew exactly what he was trying to do. "Great," I said smoothly. "We should grab a drink this weekend. Celebrate early." Greg chuckled. "Absolutely." He had no idea. Next, I moved on to Lisa. I waited until she left for yoga, or wherever the hell she was really going. Then I went through her things. Call it an invasion of privacy. I call it leveling the playing field. I found exactly what I was looking for in her nightstand. A burner phone. She wasn't just hiding messages. She had an entire separate phone just for James. Jesus Christ, she was sloppy. I scrolled through the messages. "James, we'll have enough soon. Just be patient." "Lisa, I just don't want him to get suspicious. He's been acting weird lately." "James, relax, babe. It's almost over." Almost over. What the hell did that mean? I heard the garage door open. Lisa was home. I put the phone back exactly where I found it and walked into the kitchen, acting like nothing was wrong. She walked in, hair in a ponytail, wearing leggings and a tank top. "Hey, babe." "Hey." She went to the fridge, grabbing a water bottle. "You okay? You look tired." I forced a smile. "Yeah. Just a lot on my mind." She walked over, pressing a kiss to my cheek. "Well, let me know if you want to talk." I almost laughed. "Talk? Oh, sweetheart. You're gonna be talking real soon." I spent the rest of the afternoon getting ahead. Called my lawyer. Updated my financial accounts. Moved my liquid assets into a separate, untouchable fund. I was cutting her off, and she wouldn't even realize it until it was too late. Then I called Darren. "I need a favor." Darren chuckled. "You planning something?" "Oh," I said. "You have no idea." I gave him the details. The accounts Lisa had been sending money to. The contracts Greg had been trying to divert. Darren whistled. "Damn. They really thought they could pull this off." "They did," I said. "Until now." I spent the evening watching Lisa. She was texting on her burner phone, smiling at her screen. She thought she was winning. She thought she was playing me. She had no idea she was already losing. Lisa was getting one more night of thinking everything was fine. Because tomorrow I take everything back. The moment Lisa left for her yoga class the next morning, I put my plan into action. First, I took her burner phone. I wasn't going to just read her messages this time. I was going to answer one. I scrolled through the texts with James, stopping at the last one. "James, we'll have enough soon. Just be patient." I smirked. I typed back, "Lisa, how soon?" The response came immediately. "James, relax, babe. I told you it's almost over. A couple more days and we can move forward." I clenched my jaw. Move forward with what? I wasn't sure what James was planning yet, but I knew one thing for damn sure. He thought Lisa was still playing along. I was about to use that to my advantage. I pocketed the phone and moved on to Greg. I called a meeting. Greg walked into the conference room, all smiles, acting like he wasn't a snake in a suit. "What's up, man?" he said, clapping me on the back. I sat down, gesturing for him to do the same. "Just wanted to go over some last-minute adjustments on the Ridgeview deal," I said. Greg nodded, leaning forward. "Yeah, I was actually meaning to talk to you about that. There are some concerns." "There aren't." His smile faltered. "What?" "There aren't any concerns, Greg. You know how I know." I leaned back, staring him down. "Because I already pulled everything." Greg blinked. I tossed a stack of documents on the table. Copies of emails, financial transfers, proof. Greg froze. "You think I wouldn't notice?" I asked, my voice eerily calm. "You think I wouldn't catch you and James meeting behind my back?" He paled. "Derek, I can explain." "No, you can't." I stood, buttoning my suit jacket. "You have two options, Greg. Option 1, you take your resignation package, leave quietly, and never breathe my name again." Greg swallowed. "And option 2? I smiled. "I bury you." He didn't even hesitate. "I'll resign." I nodded. Smart choice. And just like that, Greg was gone. One traitor down. 2 to go. That night, I waited for Lisa to go to bed before pulling out her burner phone. I sent James another message. "Lisa, I need to see you. Tonight." I barely had to wait. "James, thought you'd never ask." "My place?"
Lisa, no.
"The hotel." I picked a random upscale hotel in the city and booked a room in Lisa's name. James had no idea who was actually waiting for him. I got there first. Sat in the dimly lit room, whiskey in hand, waiting. At exactly 11:15 p.m., there was a knock on the door. I didn't rush. I took my time walking over, savoring the moment. Then I opened the door. James froze. His cocky smirk disappeared immediately. "Not who you were expecting?" I asked, stepping aside. "Come on in." James didn't move. "Oh, what's wrong?" I mocked. "You were real confident when you were screwing my wife and stealing my money." "Come on, James." Don't get shy now. He swallowed hard. I grabbed his arm and yanked him inside, slamming the door behind him. James tried to play it cool. Derek, he said, forcing a smile. I cut him off. Sit the hell down. For the first time, James looked nervous. He sat. I poured myself another glass of whiskey, then slid the bottle toward him. Drink. James hesitated. I tilted my head. I said drink. He poured himself a glass. Took a shaky sip. Good. I wanted him scared. I leaned forward, resting my arms on the table. You're a greedy little bastard, aren't you? I said. Thought you could screw my wife, steal my money, and disappear like you always do. James's eyes widened. I don't know what you're. I pulled Lisa's burner phone from my pocket and dropped it in front of him. His face drained of color. You were saying? James stared at the phone. How did you? Doesn't matter, I said. What matters is what happens next. He swallowed. You're going to give me everything, I said. The account details, the offshore fund, all of it. James hesitated. And if I don't? I laughed. Oh, James, if you don't. I pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. Inside, everything Darren had dug up on him. The cons, the fraud, the stolen money, the warrants in multiple states. James's hands shook as he flipped through the pages. You recognize that last one? I asked. His eyes flicked up to me. Yeah, that's a RICO case. That's right, I said. And all I have to do is make one phone call, and you're looking at 20 to life. James was done. He knew it. I knew it. Your choice, I said, leaning back. You either wire the money back, sign a written confession, and disappear forever. Or, I nodded toward the folder. James's hands were shaking. I could almost see his brain working, trying to find an escape. There wasn't one. Not this time. I'll do it, he whispered. I'll give it back. I smirked. That's what I thought. The money was back in my account by sunrise. James Carter was gone. But there was still one more person left. The woman who betrayed me first. My wife. And she had no idea what was coming next. By the time I got home, James Carter had disappeared. Not a trace. No smug texts, no half-assed excuses. Nothing. I didn't know where he ran off to, and I didn't care. He had his warning. He had his one chance to walk away without me torching his entire life. And Lisa still thought she was playing her little game. I almost felt bad for her. Almost. That morning, I sat at the kitchen table, sipping my coffee like it was just another day. Lisa strolled in wearing her silk robe, stretching like she didn't have a damn thing to hide. Morning, babe. Morning. She poured herself a cup, then turned, leaning against the counter. So, I was thinking, maybe we do date night this weekend? Go somewhere nice. Date night. She really thought she could fix this with a romantic dinner and a couple of fake apologies. I set my mug down. Actually, I said, I was thinking we should talk. Lisa blinked, clearly caught off guard. Talk? Yeah. I leaned back in my chair. About James. Everything changed. Her whole body stiffened, fingers tightening around her coffee mug. She opened her mouth, probably to feed me another lie, but I didn't give her the chance. I pulled out the burner phone and placed it on the table. Lisa went pale. And that's when I knew. She wasn't going to deny it. She was going to lie her way through it. Derek, I held up a hand. I already know, Lisa. I know about the texts, the hotel meetups, the money you were sneaking out of our account. I know everything. Her mouth opened, closed, then opened again. Wait, she whispered, like the realization was just hitting her. You knew? For how long? I laughed. Long enough. Lisa swallowed. I was going to tell you. That almost made me lose it. Really? I asked, tilting my head. When exactly? After you drained the rest of our accounts? After you and James ran off into the sunset with my money? She shook her head. No, it wasn't like that. Then tell me, Lisa. I leaned forward, voice dropping. What was it like? She hesitated. That's when I saw it. the gears turning in her head, trying to figure out how to spin this, how to twist it into something that would make her the victim. And that's when I decided I was done playing nice. You think James loved you? I asked, voice calm. Lisa flinched. What? You really think you were special? That you were different from all the other women he scammed? She froze. She hadn't known. I smirked. Yeah, Lisa. James isn't some lost high school love. He's a professional con artist. And guess what? You were never the prize. I was. Lisa staggered back like I had physically struck her. You're lying, she whispered. I pulled out the file Darren had given me, the one with every scam James had ever pulled, the other women he had drained dry, the other lives he had ruined. I tossed it on the table. Lisa's hands shook as she flipped through the pages. I saw the exact moment it hit her. Her breathing turned shallow. Her eyes darted over every detail, every transfer, every receipt of what James had done to other people. And then she saw it. The account transfer. The money she had sent to James. Back in my account. Lisa's head snapped up, pure panic in her eyes. Where is he? I took my time sipping my coffee, letting the silence stretch between us, letting her squirm. Lisa's eyes were wild, darting between the file and me. Her breathing was uneven. She knew James was gone. That her money, my money, was out of her reach. I leaned back in my chair, tilting my head. Where is he? She repeated, her voice shaky. I smirked. Gone. Lisa staggered back, gripping the edge of the counter. What do you mean, gone? I said slowly, that James packed up and vanished. Took his little con somewhere else. And the best part, I tapped the file on the table. He didn't get a damn thing from me. Lisa shook her head, her face crumbling. No, that's not possible. He wouldn't just. He would. I cut her off, standing up. And he did. Because James never wanted you, Lisa. He wanted me, my money, my company, everything I built. And you were just his way in. Tears welled in her eyes, and for a second, I thought she might actually break. That maybe, just maybe, she would realize how stupid she had been. But instead, she did exactly what I expected. She tried to flip the script. Lisa straightened, blinking back tears, her face twisting into something cold. So that's it? She spat. You're just going to humiliate me? Throw this in my face like I'm some kind of idiot? I laughed. Actually laughed. You are an idiot. Her jaw clenched. You threw away 15 years of marriage for some washed-up con artist. I continued. You drained our accounts. You lied to my face. You thought you could play me. And now that it's all blown up in your face, you're looking for a way to make me the bad guy. Lisa gritted her teeth. I was unhappy, Derek. I needed. Unhappy? I barked out another laugh. So, instead of talking to me, instead of working on our marriage, you cheated. You stole. You plotted to leave me broke while you and your boy toy ran off together. Lisa swallowed hard. And that's when I dropped the final bomb. I reached into my pocket and pulled out one last document. A divorce agreement. Already drawn up, already signed by me. Lisa's face drained of color. I took the liberty of handling everything, I said, tossing it onto the table. Since you already checked out of this marriage months ago, I figured I'd make it official. Her hands trembled as she picked up the papers. She skimmed them, her lips parting as she realized just how screwed she was. I had covered everything. Lisa got nothing. No money.
No assets.
No house. I had legally proven financial misconduct, which meant she had no claim to anything we built together. Everything she thought she'd walk away with, gone. Lisa's voice cracked. You can't do this. I already did. Lisa shook her head, tears spilling down her face. Derek, please.
No.
I stepped forward, my voice low. Final. You made your choice, Lisa, and now you get to live with it. Tears streamed down her cheeks, her breathing ragged. For the first time, I saw real panic in her eyes. I didn't feel sorry for her. Not for a second. I grabbed my keys off the counter and headed for the door. Lisa let out a broken sob. Where are you going? I turned, meeting her eyes one last time. Somewhere you're not. Then I walked out, and I never looked back. I didn't go back. Not that night. Not ever. Lisa called. A lot. At first, it was desperate apologies. Sobbing voicemails about how she was so sorry. How she didn't mean for it to go this far. How she loved me. Really loved me. I ignored them all. Then the messages turned to rage. You can't just throw away 15 years like this, Derek. You're punishing me for one mistake. One. You're a heartless bastard. I hope you rot alone. She never understood. It wasn't just the cheating. It wasn't just James Carter. It was the betrayal. She had looked me in the eye night after night and lied. She had plotted behind my back, planned to screw me over, to leave me in the dust while she and James lived off the money I worked my ass off for. It wasn't a mistake. It was a choice, and I made mine. A week passed. Lisa finally stopped calling. But Greg, that spineless bastard, tried to save himself. He emailed me, Derek, let's talk. We can work this out. I didn't respond, because while Lisa had lost me, Greg had lost everything. The company? Gone. His reputation? Ruined. His career? Over. I made sure every dirty deal he made behind my back came to light. The investors backed out. The board turned on him. He lost everything before he even saw it coming. And just like that, Greg Thompson was nothing. I almost wished I could have seen his face when it all collapsed. Almost. I finalized the divorce. Lisa signed the papers, probably thinking I'd show her mercy. But I didn't. She walked away with nothing. Not the house. Not the cars. Not the savings. Nothing. I didn't care where she went. She wasn't my problem anymore. Months passed. I rebuilt. I thrived. The company was mine again. Stronger than ever. I hired a new team. People I trusted. People who earned it. And me? I was free. Lisa had thought she was playing me. James had thought he was scamming me. Greg had thought he was outsmarting me. They all thought I was blind. They thought they could take everything. Instead, I took it all back. And I never looked back.